I'm starting to machine the little dovetail groove, and as you can see, I've got the cross slide is set at 20 degrees, and also the cutter, believe it or not, it's a 20-degree angle there. Obviously it looks more acute because of the bevel for the cutting. So what I'm doing here, I'm going to withdraw the cutter out. Let's see, about halfway. Actually, it's a little further than I need. So basically we're doing pull it out. I'd set it 0 when it was down there close to the there we go. When it was close to the bottom of the hole. And now I'm just using cuts, using the cross slide, top slide, whatever you want to call it, to make little cuts into the base. It's probably hard to see on the video there, but I'm going to pull that back. Now I can move this over, move the z-axis over a little ways. There we go, it's making contact 7th thou. Now I'll just push it in again, insert the cutter. And it's just a process of repeating this very carefully until you get 60 thou over. Until you make the groove there. Alright, so I'm going to keep doing this until I finish the left hand. Alright, I just finished undercutting the left hand side, and I guarantee, hopefully you can see that I got a light on there now. Hopefully you can see the little dovetail groove in there. I'm doing it at 70 RPM again, and this steel, it'd probably be a heck of a lot easier to do this with something like bronze, or even a 12L14 type steel. You know, if you can't get castings for this thing, you know, something I keep thinking about all the time is there's a lot of manipulation that you have to go through to machine this thing and using a casting. I'm just trying to clean out the little belly right now while we're talking. I'm going to cut the lathe off. But that's a lot of work, a lot of manipulation to get to this steel. I don't know if you want to call it, I mean, it's no big deal because the castings were made in like 1975 or something, so nothing anybody can do about it now except do the best you can. But I don't believe I've ever machined cast steel before, and this stuff is way different from other types of steel that I've machined, you know, like I keep saying 12L14, or even this 303 stainless. Those are pretty pleasant to machine. But you want real sharp lathe tools, and follow the directions in the book as far as setting your angles and carefully. I mean, I took successive cuts. Try to back off a little bit and show what I've been doing here. I set the top slide, and I locked down the carriage like they talk about, and I set my DRO instead of counting the hand wheels, which is fantastic. But obviously I had to rely on the hand wheel numbers here as far as the depth goes. And I have the angle set, so I was feeding the cutter into the work at 70 RPM, coming in the conventional way. And so I just nibbled off like 5 thou at a time. And the idea is you end up moving the carriage over. Let me crank this thing in and you'll see. You end up moving the carriage over a total of 60 thou. So to get that kind of a cut that you want, but you make your cuts this way with the top slide. So I'd move it over 5 thou, and then I'd like bzz, cut it in, and it's just the bottom of that bevel dovetail is it's like snaps. It was an interesting experience. It doesn't just peel off like butter, or even like with a parting tool or something. It definitely grabbed the cutter a couple of times. I had to be really easy and back off, and I used plenty of oil. Again, I was only cutting at 70 RPM, but I think I got that one done. That side now So what I'm going to do is real quick, I'm going to move the whole carriage assembly out of the way. I'm going to go over it with a file, and I will inspect the cut. It's a shame you can't see that dovetail a little bit better. Like this side is a straight wall. Over here I haven't cut that yet, and over here is the dovetail. Let's see if I switch that light around you. But it's looking good. This is a lot like what it looked like when I did the rotary table. And you leave a little flat, little 25 thou. Probably didn't get that quite of a thick of a flat here, but you can feel the undercut when you feel it with your thumb. So that'll work. I'll have to get the next side done. Okay, I'm getting ready to mount the tool for the right hand side. So it'll be cutting in this way, and I'll have to set the angle again, and I'll get all that sorted out. But I thought before I put the tool in, let me show you. This is 3/16 inch drill rod, and I had made this for when I made the rotary table years ago. And I went ahead, hopefully you can see that, I have resharpened this one. I got it razor sharp, and that's what you want, because especially with this dang cast steel, and you set the angle of the top slide will be set, and you also set the cutter so that there's good clearance, so you can use the process that I described a second ago. And just to show you, this is one method anyway of setting the 20-degree angle for the cutting. You got to do this both ways, and it's a little difficult, so I thought this might help some. Hey everybody, I've finally got a proper light set up here, so let me show you. I've got this locked down, moved it over 17 thou to the right on the Z this way, and so I'm cutting in, and you can see I'm cutting in using this, the top slide only. Just ever so gently going to the bottom of the hole, and I've got the indicator set on the top slide to show me the 0 at the bottom of the hole, just about there. You can always tell when you start getting the music. I wonder if that's where LBSC came up with that saying. Okay. 3 thou more to go. I'll be at the bottom of the hole. Boom, there we go. Drawing it back a little ways. Now unlocking. I'll move it over about 5 more thou, about 23 or so. Yeah, you can hear it start to make noise there. Locking again and feeding in. And you just continue on until you have 60 thou cut. Hope that makes a little more sense now. And one final note, I've got both sides cut now. I'm going to clean it out with the brush a little bit. One thing I wanted to do is, you're going to have the V-nuts sliding around the back there, so I did want to file it out. You want to be able to go smoothly. I probably put a few ripples in there, so I've got some Riffler files that I'm using to smooth out the bottom of the hole. Pick up any little debris that's in there. So it'll have a nice, the little V-nuts will have a nice smooth sliding surface. You can see the point hopefully going in. It's kind of hard to see that dovetail groove, I guess. But it looks good in person, so I'm pretty happy with the way it's come out. I think we're going to be good. What I'll do now, before I take away any of the cutting tools, I'll double check my measurements as good as I can, and if I do need to take anything else out, open anything, other holes up or anything, I'll make sure I do that before I put it all away. But if everything checks out good, then I'll probably just polish it up a little bit, and then it's on to the next things of making the actual V-nuts and stop blocks, and that's a very interesting process. Okay, just to follow up, full disclosure, I double checked it, the measurements, and the good news is that this slot that I had cut was a little bit too narrow, so I ended up widening it out in this direction, and I've got a nice, now I'm sure I've got the proper size slot the nice 60 thou undercut on both sides at the 20-degree angle. So I just filed the outside edges to kind of remove all the burrs, anything that got kicked up as I was widening that out a little bit. So there we go. Next phases will be to create the V blocks, the V nuts, and the stop blocks.